This is Ingong. Ever since he was a kid, he was expected to be the main character of this world. Everywhere he went, people would tease him for his meaningful name. He paid no mind to their taunts. Ingong walked straight to the game counter. "Stop the teasing. You got the game, right?" The salesman had a surprise for him, too. "I knew you were coming, so I saved a copy for you," the salesman said as he brought out the latest game, a remix version of KNY Saga, KNY Saga G. As he spoke, a world based on the game materialized from his words. The story takes place between two factions, the human world and the demon world. The player can choose a character, either the human hero, Locke, or the second son of the demon king, Jeffrey Lagnaros. Then, they wander the world to fulfill their predetermined destiny. This was, of course, exactly what Ingong was waiting for. "I've played KNY Saga more than 10 times since I was a kid, so there's nothing about the characters, item locations, or events that I don't know." He had even experienced it in a deeply immersive way. Plus, this was the first game to be released in virtual reality format. After buying his favorite thing, Ingong rushed home to try it out immediately. He excitedly took out the game card and placed it into the machine. The next crucial step was to put on the VR headset. Ingong gently pressed the game card into the machine to start it up. Then, finally, Ingong lay down in the most comfortable position to enjoy it. He mumbled to himself as he was about to begin. "Just a light 8-hour session for today, I guess." Instantly, Ingong's mind was transported into the game. A strange new space appeared, making him exclaim in surprise, "Ah!" Ingong had transformed into a character named Sucha, sitting on a long bench. He still hadn't had time to get his bearings. "Am I in the game already?" "Well, it's true that a game should start with you waking up in bed. That's the standard." His new appearance was also updated. He wondered to himself in amazement, but he looked at himself again, unable to shake his confusion. "Who is this character?" A voice from outside interrupted Ingong's surprise. "Are you still sleeping at this hour?" A tall elf leaned in to remind him. "Hurry up and come out, we have things to do this morning." Sucha stared at the character before him, unable to hide his excitement. "The graphics are insane. It looks so real." The elf didn't understand what he was talking about. "Graphics?" Hearing the elf speak made Ingong even more excited about this unique feature. "Wait, can I talk directly with them?" They didn't mention this in the advertisements. Sucha was still confused by the elf's information, so he asked, "Right, what's your name?" Upon hearing his question, the elf replied in surprise, "What are you talking about? Have you already forgotten?" "I'm Karak," Sucha repeated. "Karak?" As Karak walked out, he didn't forget to remind him meticulously, "Come on, everyone is waiting for Prince Sucha. Hurry up and come out." When he heard him speak of his identity, he thought for a moment about this new name. "Isn't Sucha the 9th son of the Demon King, Sucha Ignos? I haven't even chosen a character, so how did I end up as Sucha?" To be more certain of his speculation, Sucha tried to open the system menu. "Let's see. Open status window." Seeing the stats displayed on the screen made him exclaim in awe, "Oh, there it is!" But Sucha was also a little dissatisfied with this mediocre start. He was discouraged by the low numbers. "Don't tell me I'm forced to use Sucha for my first playthrough." A mediocre prince who's basically an NPC. Sucha opened it to see more details about the equipment he could use. Let's check the skills. Conquest, Auxiliary, Level 1. Main Character Correction, Level 1. These special skills gave Sucha a little more hope. He celebrated silently. Conquest and Main Character Correction. Could this be the main character correction I'm thinking of? Seeing him dawdling, Karak urged him on once more. "Hurry out!" Sucha replied. "Yeah, I know." He followed him outside. The scene before him left Sucha so stunned he was speechless. In front of him was an army of elves, lined up in neat rows. Their silence and professional seriousness made Sucha curious enough to ask Karak, "Karak, why is the atmosphere so tense, like we're about to go to war?" The elf thought he was joking, so he dismissed it and told him to focus. "Stop mumbling, let's move out." Karak gave Sucha more information about this mission. "We have to take care of the red lizards." His face paled as he asked again in shock, "What?" A loud roar echoed, signaling the start of a heroic battle to come. "First deployment, let's go!" Sucha, not even mentally prepared, was called out, leaving him bewildered. "Wait, deploy? What about the new player tutorial?" He couldn't fully grasp the situation with their enemy before heading out to fight. "So, the Red Lizard tribe is rebelling, and I have to suppress this rebellion with the 7th prince and the 8th princess?" Sucha looked ahead, confused. He was a bit worried about their small numbers. Our first deployment and we only have 10 people with us? Karak was getting tired of his cluelessness. He explained again, I told you yesterday, didn't I? We're only going for reconnaissance, so we don't need many people. Sucha finally understood. Ah, is that so? Suddenly he felt a sense of unease. He thought back. Did I eat something weird yesterday? Why does this feel so strange? Sucha calmed himself down and used the available screen to check. Luckily, he had a map to make navigation easier. As expected, there's a mini-map. With this, it'll be easy. First, I need to keep it always on. Sucha observed carefully and noticed something interesting. Hey, there's a hidden path. Must be for an event, right? Meanwhile, Karak was still persistently fumbling with a traditional map. All right, from that spot we turn this way. That way would take too much time. While he was still racking his brain, Sucha stepped up and offered to guide everyone, saying, Follow me, I know a faster shortcut. And so the entire group lined up and followed the path he showed them. There, they discovered another base area where diligent elves were climbing up each cliff face. To get to the top, Sucha was no exception. Just like them, he climbed tirelessly, dripping with sweat. After a period of effort and persistent endurance, they found the gate leading to their destination. The gate was made of stone and looked very sturdy. Kakat had to marvel in admiration at Sucha's discovery skills. How did you know about this place? Are you a mage, Prince? He was so tired he could barely breathe, so he just gave a curt reply. What mage? He asked with concern. Are you all right, sir? You look exhausted. Sucha was panting, his face pale. He hadn't anticipated this either. I can't believe my stamina is this terrible at level 1. Sucha forced himself to step forward to inspect the stone door himself. Whatever, let's just see if this door can be opened. As he approached, a powerful surge of spiritual energy flooded his body, and he could feel it. Sucha's jaw dropped in amazement as he wondered, What is this? As power filled his body, a voice echoed in his ear. You have leveled up. This strange event made Sucha hurriedly check his own stats again. No way. I leveled up just from a short walk? As it turned out, it was just as he had guessed. All his stats had gone up, and what's more, they increased by a bonus of +2. This is totally overpowered. Sucha was still reeling from the shock of the experience. He spaced out for a moment until Kakat, seeing his strange behavior, shouted, What are you doing? Let's get going. Sucha immediately replied, Right behind you. And from that moment on, he felt a surge of strength and confidence for the next missions. I don't know what's in there, but since I'm not alone, it should be fine. More importantly, Sucha was holding a get-out-of-death-free card, which made him even more resolute. Protagonist correction. A level 1 protagonist won't die even if they fall off a cliff. They'll even have a fateful encounter. After heading deep inside, they came across a large cavern. Kakat immediately made a prediction. It seems this is a tunnel dug by dwarves. Hearing this surprised Sucha a little. Dwarves? There are dwarves in the demon world? He added some more information. Not anymore, but I heard there used to be. I wonder if the whole clan migrated. Who knows? I've only heard stories. After walking quite a distance, they found many weapons and treasures left behind. Seeing the wealth, all the elves were thrilled and said to each other, This is a gift from the heavens. Those stupid dwarves ran away and left all their weapons. Sucha, however, was suspicious and carefully stared at the unguarded pile of treasure. He ignored the other greedy and joyful elves who were gathering everything they could, no matter how heavy. Although there was many different kinds of items, in his eyes they were all worthless. Level not high enough, strength not high enough, magic not high enough. Damn it! Sucha hesitated for a moment, but he still decided, better to take it just in case than leave it behind. He figured he should store them away anyway. To see how to put things into his inventory, he found that with just a gentle touch, he could retrieve the item. All the weapons were neatly stored in his system inventory, making transport much lighter. Storing it works just as I thought. I just have to touch it and think store, and it automatically goes in. A danger warning flashed on the minimap. Sucha noticed it instantly. As he glanced at the screen, he quickly shouted an alarm to everyone, Everyone, get back! Cracks began to appear on the wall from powerful impacts, startling the elves who looked over. In a flash, the spot where they were standing exploded as if in a major battle. In the tense situation, red demons appeared out of nowhere. Their leader let out a contemptuous taunt upon seeing the group of elves. You really thought we didn't know you guys were holed up in here? The leader of the Red Zet tribe, Kai-chan, ordered his underlings, Charge! Slaughter them all for me! A chaotic battle broke out between the two sides. The elves did not back down against the onslaught. As for the Red Demon's rampage, Sucha just stood there silently, watching for a long time amidst the tense situation. A bold idea suddenly struck him. What should I do now? Should I try to steal the final blow for the experience points? While the two sides were fighting relentlessly, Sucha snuck up behind the Red Demon. He gathered all his strength for a sneak attack while his target wasn't paying attention. But Sucha's crappy sword couldn't withstand the immense force and snapped in two, much to his dismay. Kai-chan, enraged, spun around and glared at him with a bloodthirsty look. He flew into a rage and started chasing Sucha to settle the score. While running for his life, he unfortunately tripped on a rock. Poor Sucha tumbled to the ground. The system screen began to flash a red alert. It made him panic. HP 1 out of 15, MP 5 out of 5. Kai-chan had caught up. He prepared to finish Sucha with a single punch. He immediately let out a terrified scream. In that life-or-death moment, Kakat blocked his attack and successfully saved him, Sucha's life. While struggling to hold his ground, he urged him to get to safety. "What are you doing? Prince, run!" Sucha was frozen by his heroic spirit. Kakat! Witnessing the clash between Kakat and Kai-chan also shook him to the core. Sucha tried to stay calm, comforting himself. "My hands are still shaking. It's just a game." After that heart-stopping moment, Sucha couldn't take it anymore and decided to take a break. "This is bad. Let's just stop here for today. Would you like to open the menu? It's just too realistic. Who could stand playing like this?" He opened his personal information screen. Age, 14. Race, Gantava. Trait, Prince. Class, Protagonist. Strength, 7. Physique. But Sucha suddenly froze when he realized something important. The screen only showed a single line at the bottom under acquired skills. No skills yet. He was instantly bewildered by this strange situation. Huh? What is this? Sucha searched the main menu again, but he couldn't find the most crucial thing right now. Status, equipment, inventory, skills. Why isn't there a log out button? He sat down as the most vague and terrible thoughts surfaced in his mind. Don't tell me. I'm trapped in here? That bastard Kai-chan charged at him aggressively once more. His body was now brimming with even more dark power and incredible physical strength. Kai-chan shot forward like an arrow, aiming for Sucha, who was sitting nearby. As the demon was about to swing his weapon, Sucha was terrified by the sudden attack, but his heart remained steadfast. He told himself, "No, I can't die here." Kai-chan unleashed his attack on Sucha's body. A powerful tremor shook the very ground, causing it to crack and shatter. Sucha was gasping for breath, but he still forced himself up, refusing to submit. But in his vision, that bastard Kai-chan was still staring right at him. He wouldn't let him go, continuing his frenzied assault. Die! HP 0 out of 15. MP 5 out of 5. Sucha felt as if he had drifted into another dimension. He recalled the past and wondered in a daze, where am I? I'm pretty sure I was just skewered by those orcs. A horrifying thought surfaced in his mind. Don't tell me. I'm dead? A strange light emanated from somewhere. It made Sucha look over curiously. As he got closer, a voice spoke, addressing him. You who exists once more, you carry the fate of this place. Go forth and conquer. A radiant goddess appeared. She made a proposition to Sucha. Make them submit and then rule over them. He was bewildered, not understanding what was happening. What? Sucha looked up again, but the beautiful goddess had vanished after delivering her message. Sucha was sent back to the chaotic battle from before. The elves were gradually losing ground, being overwhelmed by the red demons. The demon general, Kai-chan, strode out proudly to inspect the results. His voice was filled with contempt and defiance towards the elven army. You dare to crawl all the way here with just this many troops? I can't tell if you were born this stupid or if you were trained to be. He immediately gave a ruthless order to his underlings. Don't waste any more time. Kill them all. Seeing the wicked face of the demon Kai-chan again, Sucha was astonished, unable to believe his eyes. What is this? It feels like I just had an awakening. Kai-chan couldn't hide his surprise, seeing him reviving. You? How is this possible? The system screen showed Sucha an important notification. Acquired Psychokinesis Level 1. He was baffled by this miraculous ability of his. Since when did I have psychokinesis? His eyes were glued to another unusual line on the screen. To his surprise, the screen clearly stated, Subclass, Conquest Knight Level 1. Sucha read it again, bewildered. Conquest Knight? That bastard Kaichan didn't hesitate to order his minions. He roared, "What are you all gawking at? Kill that brat first!" Karak could no longer sit still. He was worried. "Prince!" Karak also urged their entire army to put their lives on the line. "Protect our master! Defend the prince! Don't let the prince get hurt!" Faced with this tense situation, Sucha knew he had to do something. He glanced at the system screen, hoping to find some help. Another skill listed on the screen caught his attention. Subclass, Conquest Knight Level 1. Knight Saga doesn't have a Conquest Knight class. Sucha's eyes widened in shock as he wondered, how can this be? He placed the flat of his sword on the ground. A powerful spiritual aura radiated outwards as if he had known how to do this for a long time. The incantations echoed in his mind, but Sucha's eyes were now filled with determination and resolve. The power of conquest is the power of sovereignty. After his resolute declaration, all the elves felt as if they had been infused with new strength. Unfurl the royal standard. Conquest. Skill. Unfurl the royal standard Level 1. Grants a strengthening buff to allies within a certain range. The elves could also feel the power. Infused with it, they became steadier. They cheered with joy. Our strength is surging. This time, the elves were no longer fearful or weak. Karak commanded the entire army, "Wipe them all out for me!" They began to advance, attacking the demons like a hurricane, forcing the demons to struggle to keep up. All the elves charged forward, incredibly brave and powerful. In just a moment, a large number of the red demons had been taken down by them. Kaichan was also panicked and suspicious of his opponent's sudden change. What's going on? The enemy suddenly got stronger. He couldn't believe what he was witnessing. What is this? This is absurd. The valiant and overwhelmingly powerful elves were closing in on Kaichan, making him flustered. Seeing Sucha shining brightly made him a little suspicious. Could it be him? That bastard Kaichan couldn't accept this harsh reality. He stubbornly attacked once more. I can't let this stand. Sucha didn't flinch at the red demon leader's fury. Karak intercepted his blow, while Sucha backed him up with spiritual energy. The two of them coordinated perfectly. He shouted to encourage Karak, "Push forward! Go, Karak!" Kaichan still hadn't regained his senses. All he could manage to cry out was, "Wait!" A clean slice from Karak sent the demon general's head tumbling to the ground. Seeing their leader fall, the other demons' limbs went limp. Terrified, they scattered and fled, but the elves were determined to capture them alive for revenge. "They're running away! Don't let a single one escape!" A notification was sent to Sucha. The merits of the soldiers belong to their king. This was followed by a continuous stream of congratulatory messages. You have leveled up. You have leveled up. You have leveled up. He looked at the screen, unable to hide his joy from leveling up so quickly. Karak, on the other hand, was staring intently at the power he now possessed. He asked himself, what is this power exactly? His gaze became incredibly emotional. Karak turned to look at Sucha as if he had understood something. To him, you were like a savior, the one true answer. Could you be the prince who arrives when the war ends? The elves also began to set up their tents and start fires. Sucha still hadn't given up on finding a way back to reality. He fumbled around in frustration. Nothing. No matter how much he searched, he couldn't find it. There was no log out button in the menu. But panicking wouldn't solve anything. He tried to calm himself. Okay, calm down. Gotta stay calm. There are two possibilities I can think of. Sucha began to speculate and reason meticulously. First, I'm trapped in a virtual reality world. Maybe there's some kind of critical error happening in the real world. If that's the case, maybe it'll be fixed with an update. Then there's the more extreme possibility. Second, it sounds insane, but what if this place is real? Based on his years of gaming experience, Sucha guessed that, just like in novels or comics, if you get sucked into a game world or a game-like world, then he imagined the worst-case scenario, but this scenery, you could only call it reality. The NPCs could converse like real people, but more importantly, Sucha tried opening his pants and his face went pale when he checked. His family jewels weren't censored. A terrifying scenario appeared in his mind. If this really is another world, what am I supposed to do? Am I going to die here? Although he couldn't accept this reality, Sucha found some comfort in his status. No way. I'd never dare to play so recklessly. Anyway, at least I'm lucky I'm not an orc or an ogre. I'm a prince, for crying out loud, of noble blood. Just as he was lost in his worries, Karak's voice cut through his thoughts. Prince, do you have a moment? Sucha was a bit taken aback when he came looking for him. Karak called Sucha outside the tent to train, which surprised him. Why a sparring match all of a sudden? He explained his reasoning awkwardly. Well, you are my master, Prince. I must serve you. It would be good for the future to know the level of your swordsmanship. Hearing that, Sucha was speechless. Is that really necessary? Karak tossed Sucha a wooden sword. He assured him firmly so he could train without worry. Don't worry. I'll try to go easy on you. Sucha didn't hold back anymore. He became unusually serious. Hey, you. Are those words you dare say to a prince? He didn't fear the pain and bravely stepped forward. If we're going to fight, we have to fight seriously. His gaze was focused and determined. But from the very first blows, Sucha swung wide. What's more, his techniques were so clumsy they were completely useless. It had no effect on Karak. A rock flew right over his head, and he couldn't hold back any longer. Karak just flicked his sword lightly, and the rock changed direction, heading straight for Sucha. Before he could react, he was knocked to the ground. He asked with concern, Your Highness, are you all right? Sucha started to blame him. Hey, why'd you hit me so hard? But unexpectedly, that small event caused him to gain a new skill. You have acquired basic swordsmanship level 1. You have acquired basic swordsmanship level 1. What? Sucha's eyes widened in shock as he exclaimed, Swordsmanship? Since when? His mind replayed this moment, reminding him. Sucha recalled the past, the most likely reason this strange thing could have happened. Come to think of it, it's exactly like when I acquired psychokinesis. Maybe I learn skills whenever I take a direct hit? Karak thought Sucha was tired, so he tactfully suggested, Well then, let's stop here for today. Let's go get something to eat. But Sucha replied decisively, Hey, who said we could stop? Sucha stomped his foot hard on the ground. His mind grew excited, and he answered with great confidence, I'm just getting warmed up. Full of fighting spirit, Sucha rushed forward. Karak also began to train seriously with him, swinging his sword and striking repeatedly as they began their second direct confrontation. This made Karak change his opinion of Sucha. Indeed, his movements had become much more fluid. It was because of his sudden improvement that Karak became a little suspicious. So then, why was he like that at the start? Could it be that his strength suddenly skyrocketed? Karak put all his power into a mighty slash towards Sucha, but he managed to dodge the blow smoothly and gracefully. Sucha acted all high and mighty and asked for Karak's opinion. What do you think? I'm getting pretty decent now, huh? He continued by asking about his combat level. Karak, what level are you? Karak tried to recall, hesitating as if he wasn't quite sure. The last time it was measured, I think it was 21? To be sure, Sucha checked again. He was surprised by his stats. 21, huh? His level was still far below Karak's, but he made a resolution. I'll catch up soon enough. At least for the people in this world, levels really do exist. That motivated Sucha even more. But they can't open a status window like I can. They have to use magic to measure their level to find out. He felt a bit lucky that he could see his own stats. In other words, just the fact that I can see all my detailed stats and get extra points every time I level up is already a huge advantage. Sucha continued his exchange with Karak. He rushed toward Karak at an astonishing speed, preparing to unleash a move. He was thrilled to feel his body overflowing with energy. Can I get even stronger? Sucha was certain of his own ability. He could surpass others. He recalled the plot details from the game, from the Demon World storyline of Glai Saga. Sucha still remembered its main ending very clearly. The protagonist, Jeffy, would defeat his rival brothers to become the Demon King. There were many events leading up to that ending, but the most important thing is, he remembered one of the game's most crucial core events, the Mandatory Massacre. Based on the original plot, it was all going to happen exactly the same way in this world. It's a major event that takes place in the year 517 of the demonic calendar. Jeffy will kill all of his siblings to achieve his goal. This is what's been weighing on Sucha's mind. He muttered to himself, calculating. Killing all his siblings. Of course, that includes me. But right now, it's only the year 512 of the demonic calendar. There's still time until 517. A bold thought flashed through Sucha's mind. Somehow I have to stop that event. The best way is to become stronger than Jeffrey. Kakat appeared out of nowhere, interrupting his train of thought. Prince, what are you doing here? I've been looking all over for you. Sucha replied, What is it? Is something wrong? Kakat, surprised by his casual attitude, stressed the reason. What do you mean? Have you forgotten about the meeting today? Sucha asked, a little taken aback. A meeting? Seeing him still so nonchalant, he urged, Hurry up. Everyone is waiting. The meeting was held at the barracks. Sucha sat properly at the table, trying to maintain a serious demeanor. His siblings were also present, looking relaxed and calm. Sucha began politely, Welcome, your highnesses. Thank you for coming early. The blonde-haired brother spoke very naturally. Why are you suddenly using honorifics? Just relax. We're siblings after all. He was the seventh prince, Chris Moonlight. The girl next to him suddenly turned and explained to Chris, Brother, after all, this is our first time meeting in person, isn't it? The eighth princess said. But he remained cheerful and wasn't fussy about how Sucha addressed him. It's fine, it's fine. Just feel free to call us brother and sister. These two were also unforgettable characters from his memories. They were the children of the fourth imperial consort, the lycanthrope queen, Ellen Moonlight. In the game, they gave me a pretty hard time. Not only that, but Sucha also knew their fates very well. Chris and Kylene would die 1 year before the massacre. The cause of this tragedy, he remembered it very clearly. It was because of Jeffy and the other children of the Demon King. He watched Kylene calmly sipping her tea. It made Sucha realize the gravity of the situation even more. The reason was the secret of Kylene Moonlight's birth, an unbelievable reason that only he knew. She wasn't the Demon King's biological daughter, but an illegitimate child. Kylene, worried about the last battle, asked with concern, Why didn't you follow the plan? You charged in and fought them. I clearly told you it was just a reconnaissance mission. Sucha tried to explain, Well, I didn't expect them to pop out right there. Kylene immediately offered to check his wounds. Here, let me see. She placed a hand on Sucha's shoulder and asked caringly, Are you hurt anywhere? Kylene gently lifted his chin, speaking affectionately. Among all of us siblings, you're the weakest. You have to be careful. Sucha was a bit flustered. Sorry. It wasn't just her. Chris was also concerned about him. Sucha couldn't believe this was happening. Huh? Why are they so worried about me? Children of the Demon King acting this close? Seriously? Chris didn't hesitate to scold him. If you're ever that reckless and risk your life again, you'll have me to answer to. Sucha replied awkwardly. I understand. Their intimate and caring gestures made Sucha question his entire existence. What the hell is this? Could it be that these two were always this kind? But his eyes became filled with determination and resolve. Right now, Sucha's mind was completely focused on the fastest way to level up. Lycanthropes have powerful life force, and so their aura abilities should be incredibly dominant. If I apply what I know about skills, I might be able to grasp aura easily. He gathered all his courage and asked Chris, I have a favor to ask you. Unexpectedly, Sucha made a very strange request. Could you hit me with your aura? After hearing this, both of them were stunned and speechless. A voice from outside the barracks exclaimed in surprise, What? His memories flashed back to the battle with the Red Demons. They were in chaos, screaming everywhere as they were relentlessly attacked. The battlefield was dramatic and tense. A heroic and mighty Kakat faced off against the demon General Kai. A horde of other demons behind him waited for a chance to launch a sneak attack. Enraged, Kakat turned and unleashed a massive blast, sending them flying. Another demon, who didn't know its place, managed to wound Kakat on the arm. He glared at it furiously, his eyes bloodshot and filled with killing intent. The demon was instantly terrified by his presence. Without another word, Kakat split it to pieces with a single swing of his blade. He now looked completely imperious, radiating an overwhelming leader's charisma. He commanded his entire army, Don't let a single one escape. Kill them all! The one who gets the most kills will be rewarded! As if newly motivated, the elves roared and charged forward, and the chaotic battle resumed. The elves had a considerable advantage over the small fry demons. Sucha stood frozen, witnessing the scene before him. A goddess appeared suddenly, causing Sucha to exclaim in shock. You're the one from back then. He was so stunned he couldn't speak. Then other strangers appeared. Sucha was completely astonished, asking himself, Who are you people? These characters didn't exist in Night Saga. While he was lost in his chaotic thoughts, the goddess suddenly appeared standing behind him. A flash of light sent Sucha into a daze. He jolted awake after a long coma. Placing a hand on his forehead, he seemed completely bewildered. Was I just dreaming? Even inside the game? Kakas's sudden appearance made Sucha jump. "You're awake, sir!" Sucha let out a terrified, "Ah!" The scare made him jump and get annoyed. Seeing that he still had the energy to complain, Kakas was somewhat relieved. His body seems to be fine. But what Sucha said in his delirium made Kakas pensive. Still, why would he say the princess hit him? He wouldn't listen no matter how much I pleaded, but then he acts like this after getting hit. He glanced over at him and was surprised to see a strange transformation. Huh? A system notification arrived. Acquired Aura Level 1. Sucha was thrilled to receive what he'd been waiting for. I can feel it. Aura? It was the first time Kakas had seen such a thing. He asked with indescribable curiosity, "So you can acquire aura by being struck by it?" "That's both right and wrong," Sucha answered frankly after realizing this interesting fact. Kakas and Sucha began a lively discussion about the matter. "So during the battle with those red bosses, that power surge, was that because of you, Prince?" "That's right. That was my doing." "Oh, so it really was you, Prince." He felt a bit uneasy and decided to ask him. "Did anything happen while I was asleep?" Kakas confirmed. Of course there was. He recounted the details to Sucha. "I heard our main camp also defeated the red bosses." He was surprised. "The main camp?" Sucha hadn't expected that. Still in shock, he asked again, "But isn't dealing with the red lightning orcs supposed to be our job? Mine, Chris's, and Kelly's?" Keika's seemed dead serious. "Don't kid yourself. The red lightning tribe is no small force." Sucha grew even more curious. "Then who commanded the main camp?" He mentioned a familiar name. "That orc, Ivando, the Grand General." He was astonished to hear this. "What? Ivando?" Sucha was no stranger to that name. In fact, that was his favorite character to use when he played the game. Grand General Vando was one of the fiercest warriors, true to his appearance. He's also the subordinate, and that I liked using the most when playing as Jeffy. An idea flashed in his mind. Wait a minute, then this could be an opportunity. As expected, knowing the future, Sucha was quick to seize the chance. Vando only becomes Jeffy's subordinate in the year 515 of the magic calendar, which means he doesn't belong to Jeffy right now. The very thought made him grin slyly. If that's the case, I can totally recruit him first. Because Sucha knew all the information about him, he was even more certain of his plan this time. I know almost everything about him, from the gifts he likes to his favorite foods, his specialties, and most importantly, the condition to recruit Vando is... Another crucial detail to add to the strategy is to defeat him in a one-on-one duel. It was a brilliant idea for Sucha to come up with. His eyes were filled with determination. If I know this much, I can definitely recruit him before Jeffy. It's totally possible. There's still plenty of time. Sucha smiled with satisfaction, a desire for possession already forming in his heart. First up, Vando, you will be my subordinate! A shrill scream echoed through the camp. What in the world? This was Kelly's camp. Kelly stared at the light emitting from his hand. His eyes widened in astonishment. It's only the first day, and he's already reached the basic stage of projecting his aura? Behind them, Chris also looked on, stunned. He smiled calculatingly, furrowing his brow as he thought to himself, that's because I poured all my points into aura, obviously. Sucha thought about the skill's speed-up animation, concluding that this wasn't just an impulsive decision. Aura provides a comprehensive boost to physical energy. In reality, it's even better than having psychokinesis. Kelly stared at him, his eyes wide with disbelief. Impossible! Could it be because you're a Gantava? Suddenly he turned to Sucha. Can you draw a map of the underground levels? He looked up, a little skeptical. The underground map? Then Sucha glanced at the ceiling of the command tent and thought to himself, not really, but I do have a mini-map. Sucha replied to him, well, it's pretty simple. Just lend me a pen and some paper. A while later at the military camp, he finished the map and placed it on the table. Kellen looked at it, unable to hold back his awe. No way. This is even more detailed than the map we have. He suddenly came over and put an arm around Sucha's shoulders in amazement. Sucha, you're a genius! Sucha looked up and smiled as well. Ha ha! Chris, standing beside them, also approached happily. The Red Lightning tribesmen we encountered before are all dead, and they have no idea that we've already figured out these underground tunnels. Kellen frowned in agreement. We can ambush them if we use this map. Right after that, he added, by the way, Sucha, there's one more thing I need you to do. Sucha gave him a confused look. Later, on a vast mountain, Sucha was with Kakas and the orc army. As they walked around the mountain, he wondered, so this is the patrol mission? The young man beside him just shrugged resignedly. What other choice do I have? I'm the youngest one here. He looked at the young man and whispered, but at least we have reinforcements now. Sucha turned his head to look at the troops behind them. It's all thanks to our hard work. Karak agreed. That's right. Suddenly, some figures blocked Sucha's troops. He looked at them. Huh? It was Chris and Sarah. The older girl pushed her hair back, while the girl behind her had a dark expression, looking at him. Sister. He then looked back at Chris, confused. What's with that cloak? She raised a hand, signaling for silence. Shh. She then explained in a low voice, We'll be following you secretly, just in case. But we'll only intervene if it's truly dangerous. Because the achievement has to be yours, little brother. His expression was hesitant as he glanced at his sister, thinking, She's going to help me like this? How foolish. He mumbled, My achievement. Sarah also stepped forward and introduced herself coldly. A pleasure. I am Sarah, an aide. He glanced at her. A pleasure to meet you. Then she looked toward the distant mountain and declared, Anyway, we'll be following you, don't overthink it. Sucha agreed. All right. They advanced towards the mouth of a dark cave. Sucha's troops entered, and sounds echoed from within. Then, they noticed the empty chests inside. Completely empty? Who would just abandon their treasure like this? The dwarves must have taken it all. He looked at the older man, puzzled. Then what about all those weapons we picked up before? Karak explained. They probably didn't think those were valuable. He understood. I guess you're right. Next, the group carried their torches deeper into the cave. The man in front turned back to report, Prince, I think something's coming. Sucha also stared intently in that direction. Yeah, I hear it too. He looked back at the red dots on the cave map. This is definitely it. He gave a command to his inventory system and a window quickly appeared. Sucha then took out a potion, thinking, I prepared a flashbang potion just for this. Gripping the potion, he turned to instruct Karak, Tell everyone to close their eyes on my signal, okay? The older man stood to the side, bewildered. What for? Ahead of them in the dark cave, a sound began to swell. Cold, glowing red eyes crawled out, and spiderwebs were strung everywhere. They swarmed out at high speed, letting out terrifying screeches. A system notification appeared. Rock spider. A monster that commonly appears in places like caves. They always travel in groups of 10 and possess a potent, paralyzing venom. Suddenly, he yelled, reminding everyone, Close your eyes! Now! The orcs quickly obeyed. He threw the flash potion towards them. It exploded immediately, releasing a blinding flash of light that burst out in the space above the spiders, stopping them in their tracks. The spiders' eyes were squeezed shut as they shrieked in pain. On his side, he was lost in thought. Rock spiders are rendered helpless when exposed to light because they're used to living in darkness. With an urgent look on his face, he yelled the command, Attack! All of you, kill the spiders! The legion behind him immediately charged forward in a frenzy. The battle between the spiders and orcs was chaotic. An orc brought its axe down, finishing off a spider. Behind the fray, he stood silently observing the battle. He then opened the map again to survey the cave's layout. Rock spiders hunt in packs. Sucha's gaze fell on the largest red dot on the map. In a pack, there's bound to be a leader. Immediately after, he turned around, sword in hand, and shouted, Karak, come with me! We're taking down the boss first! He acknowledged with a clear shout. The two of them rushed forward, but a sudden tremor stopped them. Before them was a massive pincer. The queen spider was opening its maw, growling at them. Karak charged first, screaming wildly as he jumped up and swung his axe. He landed a blow, his face filled with utter shock. Huh? There wasn't a single scratch on the queen spider. Karak yelled in disbelief. What? This exoskeleton is insanely hard! Down below, he suddenly remembered. Oh, right. I forgot. An axe can't penetrate its outer armor. His eyes locked onto its furious gaze. Its weakness is fire, but I can't use fire magic yet. The queen spider's body stirred, startling Karak. It then roared furiously and lunged at him. From behind, the young man shouted a reminder. Use fire, Karak! It's weak against fire! Karak looked back bewildered and yelled, Wait, but where am I supposed to get fire from? Suddenly, a voice shouted, making him turn his head. Sucha raised his sword, and a flame ignited brilliantly upon the blade. He stared at it in astonishment, his eyes wide as he stammered, Magic! From below, Chris, having just cast the spell, looked at him probingly. "Is that enough?" He turned back to look at her, understanding dawning on him, just as the queen spider suddenly attacked. He quickly launched himself into the air, rushing towards it with his sword, unleashing a series of zigzag slashes. The queen spider's body was gradually set ablaze by his flame-enchanted sword. Immediately after, the flames on the blade erupted fiercely, incinerating the creature's body. Down below, Sucha looked up at it. Suddenly, his body flashed as a surge of energy surprised him. Along with the rising power came a system notification. "You have leveled up. You have leveled up twice." The boy looked at the status board that appeared before him and exclaimed, "Oh, I'm level 9 already." And from behind, a worried Chris asked, "Sucha, little brother, are you all right? What was that light just now?" He was a bit flustered. It was..." Then he smiled, standing before the smoldering remains, and explained, "It's sort of like a blessing. It happens from time to time, so don't worry." She stepped closer and asked, "A blessing? From Gandharva?" He hesitated. "Yeah, from Gandharva." At this, she became a little suspicious. "But more importantly, little brother, have you ever fought one of these before? Your movements seemed very practiced." He glanced away, scratching his head awkwardly. I only read about them in a book, but I secretly thought to myself, I've actually landed countless hits in the game, so of course I know how to counter it." Up ahead, Karak pointed forward, cutting off their conversation. "Prince, look over there!" Both of them turned to look. Before them was a gate, hidden deep within the rock face. "It seems there's a door there," Karak announced. Soon after, they opened the gate. Sucha, Chris, Karak, and Sarah stepped inside. Seeing what was within, his eyes widened in shock. "Huh? This is..." Underground, a magic circle was laid out. In the very center was an orb that received energy. Sucha approached it, a bit skeptical. "A teleportation gate?" Behind him, Karak was stunned. "Your Highness, you know what that is?" He turned his head, a little hesitant. "I'm not completely sure, but that's my guess." With that, he looked down at the patterns on the ground. Though he wasn't certain, the patterns were in the dwarven style. On the walls were torches and a flag bearing the crest of a teleportation gate. Sucha was lost in thought. "When I played on the Jeffy faction, I never saw one of these. But when I played on the Hero faction, I saw them a few times." He then moved to the center of the magic circle. Looking at the glowing orb, his expression darkened. "If I try channeling mana into it, it should probably work, right?" He then turned to Chris behind him. "I think this might be a teleportation gate." She took off her helmet, bewildered. "A teleportation gate?" Sarah also came closer to confirm. "Looking at the design, it seems the prince is right." She looked at Sarah, puzzled. "So can we find out where it connects to?" She casually added, "If we look around, there's bound to be some writing somewhere." As expected, Karak pointed to a plaque on the wall. "Prince, over here. I found some writing." He turned his attention toward it as well. The group, as if on cue, all moved closer. Etched onto the stone tablet were lines of unfamiliar characters, clearly not the common script of the demon tribe. "It looks like dwarven script." Karak turned to look at Chris questioningly. "Can you read it?" She retorted, "Why would I know how to read dwarven?" He then turned to Sarah. "And what about you?" Sarah also frowned. "Sorry, I can't read it either." Suddenly, a voice rang out, startling them both. "Giska Mountain, teleportation gate number 2. He stood looking at the stone tablet, reading it clearly, leaving the three of them stunned. "And it connects to gate number 3. Even Sucha's eyes widened in confusion. "Wait, what? How can I read Dwarven?" On the system display, a notification popped up. "Acquired Dwarven language level 1. He stared at it, still in disbelief. "What? I can learn languages like this too?" Beside him, Karak bowed slightly as he looked at the prince. "Your Highness, can you really read it?" He smiled back at him. "Yeah, I think so." Behind them, Chris was still flabbergasted. "Sucha, since when could you read Dwarven?" Sarah was more focused. "So, what does the text below say?" He rubbed his chin, staring intently at the stone tablet as he analyzed it. "I think it says that it will activate if we channel mana into it." He then turned and made a suggestion. "Why don't you try channeling a little bit of your mana into it?" She looked at him, annoyed. "Why me? Why don't you do it yourself?" Sucha's expression was a bit guilty as he made an excuse. Well, I'm still too weak." Inside, he was screaming, "The truth is, I can't even use mana!" She let it go. "Fine." Next, Chris approached the orb and began channeling her mana into it. The group stared at the glowing orb. A moment later, it flashed with a stream of energy. Before them, a 3D model of a map was projected. The whole group stared with their mouths agape. This is Giska Mountain? On the 3D tech map, they saw white dots of light. Sucha analyzed it. This dot is where we are, and over there is gate number 3. Chris wondered, so does that mean there's a dwarven tunnel over there too? He replied, it's very likely. Behind him, Karak stepped forward with his own assessment. Well, isn't that just perfect? Because the main army of the Red Lightning tribe is also stationed there. He smiled and gave him a thumbs up. Exactly. If so, we can launch a surprise attack from behind. He looked around and gave an order. For now, let's stop here and head back. I have to discuss this matter thoroughly with my brother. He agreed. Yes, sir. Back at the encampment, joyous shouts echoed through the air. Inside the command tent, I can't believe there was a teleportation gate in a place like this. Kellen slapped him on the back heartily, shouting with joy, Sucha, you're a true blessing! Sucha looked at him, flustered. No, I just... Then Kellen smiled at him cheerfully and offered, if there's anything you want, just say the word. As long as it's within my power, I'll grant it. He waved his hands, smiling harmlessly. I'm fine, really. Seeing this, his brother cut in with some advice. No. As a leader and as your elder, I want to reward you. Kellen's reminder made him lower his head, a little hesitant. I'll be disappointed if you refuse. After thinking it over, he asked hesitantly, is that okay? Even if it's a little unreasonable? Kellen went along with it. Unreasonable? Now I'm even more curious. Sucha stood before them and made a request that seemed to make time stand still. Brother, could you teach me the Divine Beast Fist? Kellen's expression darkened as he looked at him. What did you say? As for him, he lowered his head, only daring to peek up to gauge the situation. I'm still not skilled with weapons because my level is still low, but other skills. Then Sucha thought of the people who used this martial art. This powerful Divine Beast Fist is a martial art passed down through the lycanthrope royal family. Simply put, it's an extremely strong S-rank martial art. I know this is a ridiculous request. If he refuses, it's understandable. Then, Sucha shook his head and crossed his arms, feigning understanding. It's probably a bit much, huh? Oh well, I figured it was impossible from the start. Hearing this, Kellen's face darkened, his expression unreadable. Then, he made up his mind. All right, I'll teach you. Hearing that, the boy excitedly looked up. Huh? Seeing the boy's expression, Kellen put his hands on his hips, his brows furrowed, and explained, Of course, I can't teach you our secret techniques. The boy, still in disbelief, stammered out another question. Really? Kellen confirmed. At the very least, I can teach you how to wield your aura. Then he asked, leaving the boy stunned for a moment, Well, is this reward good enough for you? Seeing his silence, he glanced over at Chris and joked, Saying nothing. Does that mean you don't like it? Upon hearing that, Sucha frantically explained, No, not at all. It's more than perfect. Absolutely perfect. Suddenly, they called his name seriously, leaving him confused. Sucha. Kalen put a hand on his hip and looked at him sternly. Chris, beside them, smiled gently. From now on, I think we can truly consider you a brother, don't you? The boy looked at them, a bit bewildered. Huh? Brother? He mumbled to himself. Brother, huh? Kellen's eyes narrowed, looking at the boy with determination. That's a word that carries a lot of weight. Sucha smiled, happily accepting. Well, that's fine by me. I don't hate it. In fact, I kind of like it. Then Sucha stepped forward and took Kellen's hand. The three of them looked at each other cheerfully. Yes. The boy stared at them intently. They looked back at him. Let's work together from now on. A system window, its contents hidden from him, appeared behind Sucha. An alliance has been formed with Chris Moonlight and Kyline Moonlight. Alliance status, normal. That afternoon, on another mountain inside another camp, the Red Lightning Tribe's military encampment. The men of the Red Lightning Tribe were organizing their ranks. The voice of a blue-haired tribesman dripped with contempt, his fist clenched in disdain. You surely didn't come here on your own, did you? Behind him, a bald man also crossed his arms and looked up. On the ground, inside a magic circle, sat a candle. Above it, a girl was kneeling, covered in wounds. The other men muttered, Well then, princess. The girl bound within the magic circle was helpless. The Red Lightning tribesman questioned her, What brings you here? This is the sixth princess, Francia dummed. Sucha looked at his own status window and whispered, charisma, huh? He recalled that at first, every time he leveled up, all of his stats increased by 2. But at some point, his charisma only started increasing by 1. Sucha wondered, confused, why is that? In the original Night Saga, appearance and charisma were 2 separate stats. Appearance simply determined how good-looking or ugly a character was. Meanwhile, charisma was a measure of how well-liked you were by other characters. He wasn't too bothered by the issue, remaining optimistic. Well, it makes sense, because my growth rate so far has been great. Looking at the 9 on his stats screen, Sucha smiled. More importantly, I'll be level 10 soon. Sucha thought about Night Saga. Every time Jeffy and Locke reached level 10, their unique skills, Descendant of Darkness and the Chosen One, would also level up. Sucha thought expectantly, if I also reach level 10, at least one of my skills should get an upgrade, right? Suddenly, someone pulled back the tent flap and called out, Prince Carrick? Asking, are the preparations complete? Should we head out? He turned back and said, yes. The Carrick tribesman asked curiously, you seem happy. Did something good happen? Sucha replied, no, not really. The 2 of them stepped out of the tent. Outside, countless orc warriors stood in neat, orderly rows. Sucha gave the command, all right, let's move out. The mountain range was vast, majestic, and treacherous. On a bare, rocky peak, there was a dark cave. Inside, a fierce battle raged between orcs and a pack of werewolves. Far from the battlefield, a stone door was sealed shut. Sucha and the others were inside. So, Chris asked the 2 werewolves standing by a crystal ball, have you finished the inspection? One of them answered timidly, yes. Just as you said, this gate connects to the Ska River in the Giska mountain range. Chris asked, is it stable? The man replied, yes, as expected of dwarven craftsmanship, it's very stable. He immediately ordered, excellent, let's move out. The 2 werewolves activated the crystal ball. It emitted a blinding and powerful blue-white light. Then, an oval-shaped spatial gate opened. Through it, a scene of a desolate and barren, rocky mountain was visible. Sucha and Karak stared in amazement at the shimmering spatial gate. He thought in a daze, I can't believe it. I'm actually seeing a teleportation gate in real life. Kalen, who had already gone through, turned back and called out, what are you standing around for? Snapping out of it, Sucha quickly replied, yes, I'm coming. He stepped through the spatial gate. In the blink of an eye, the entire group appeared on the other side. Suddenly, Sucha cried out in surprise, huh? The 5 of them stood on a rocky ledge, looking down at the encampment below. Chris said, good, just as we predicted. That's their camp. He assessed it. Judging by the size, there must be about 5,000 troops. If we launch a surprise attack from the rear, we have to prioritize the supply depot. But Chris added, if General Vanda attacks from the front to create a diversion, we can burn the supply depot from here. Sarah was doubtful. But isn't this strange? She looked down and explained, there are too few troops here. Chris took a closer look and agreed. You're right. Where did they all go? Could they have already deployed? Sucha suddenly heard a noise and turned to look into the distance. Staring at a cluster of black dots far away, he asked, what's that? It looks like a fight is about to break out. Chris instructed Sucha, focus your aura into your eyes. You're following the aura of the prompt? Sucha frowned, focusing the aura into his eyes. His vision extended, and the black dots on the horizon quickly magnified. I can see them, Sucha said in disbelief. One side looks like the Red Lightning tribe, but who are the others? Kelly said. Chris was confused. They aren't General Vandal's troops, and besides, there wasn't supposed to be a battle today. What's more, the scale of the battle is too small. Sucha remained silent, observing carefully. He saw people with purple skin and stark white hair fighting the lightning demons. They had long, pointed ears and pinkish-red pupils. Dark elves! Sucha cried out. Kelly turned to him and asked, what? Did you just say dark elves? He replied, yes. Their builds are smaller, and they're riding Dracos. Dracos? She exclaimed. Chris, who was also observing, said, they're retreating. Their commander must be down. They're pulling back fast. He could only see the dark elves turning and fleeing decisively. They left the lightning demons behind. What's going on? Carrick asked. Is the battle already over? Why are dark elves here? Sucha wondered suspiciously. The blazing red sunset shone upon the barracks. Inside the tent, Vandal spoke through the communicator. I hear you found the dwarven teleportation gate, he said, praising them. Truly befitting of a prince. Chris said, How did you know there was a gate here? It wasn't me who found it, but the 9th prince, Sucha, Chris said. I was just lucky, he quickly pointed out. Looking at you on the screen, Sucha thought, It's interesting to see you again, Grand General Vandal. At that moment, Vandal said with interest, Oh, is that so? This time, you all will finally be able to enter the Demon King's castle. Chris then asked, Before that, I heard there was a small clash in front of the Red Lightning Tribe's camp. Do you know anything about that? Vandal said, It seems to have been the Dark Elves. Looks like they entered the battle on their own accord. Chris pressed on. But why would the Dark Elves fight the Red Lightning Tribe? He probed. Weren't they reinforcements from the Demon King's castle? It's hard to say, Vandal replied. I heard they were only supposed to scout before regrouping, but something unexpected happened. We're in trouble, Vandal said. What's wrong? Chris asked again. The commander of the Dark Elf Special Forces has been captured by the Red Lightning Tribe, Vandal answered. Hearing this, Chris asked, So that small skirmish was because of this? Sucha, who was beside them, interjected, Wait, who exactly is this commander of the Special Forces? Vandal said, It's someone you all know well. He announced, The 6th princess, Felicia Dumbret, your imperial sister. Hearing the answer, Chris and Celine were visibly shocked. The daughter of Sylvia Dumbret, the Blue Empress, and the princess of the Dark Elves, as well as the twin sister of the 5th prince, Sinvan Dumbret. She had long, platinum hair and a cold aura. In the game, Felicia and Sinvan were both on the side of the 4th princess, Anastasia Necron. That's why my impression of her has always been that of an enemy. Sucha's eyes scanned his surroundings as he assessed the situation with a thoughtful expression. Why did Felicia appear here? Could it be that she wants to interfere to claim the credit? Chris looked at the image before him, displeased, and wondered, do those Red Lightning bastards even realize that the dark elf they captured is Felicia? Vandal appeared on the screen. Who knows? We can't confirm it yet. Then someone asked, So, what do you plan to do from here, Vandal? He had a mouth with 2 large lower canines. If we can save her, we will. Chris thought differently. No negotiations? He's calculated everything. If they dare to lay a hand on her, we can at least negotiate. But I have no intention of making concessions. Hearing Vandal's calculations, Chris smirked. I see. Vandal looked at the 3 of them through the screen. I'll gather more information. If anything happens, I'll be in touch. Chris also ended the conversation. All right, I understand. After that, Vandal disappeared from the screen in front of the 3 of them. Chris smirked. It seems our perfect imperial sister has become a prisoner. Kellen's eyes were filled with determination. If she's still alive, we have to save her. But Chris's expression faltered, not looking so sure. That sounds nice, but it won't be easy to rescue her. I'm afraid we'll suffer losses too. Kellen was surprised to hear his reluctance, but it didn't shake her will. Kellen clenched her fist and spoke in a loud, resolute voice. No, we will save her. We absolutely must. After all, she is our imperial sister. But Chris didn't answer. He just furrowed his brow and seemed to be thinking about something. After a while, he finally spoke. I know, but having been observing the situation, Sucha also remained silent, finding it hard to speak. The morning light shone on the mountains and forest at the assembly point. The tent stood tall, with many guards stationed outside. Inside, everyone was discussing strategy. Chris stood in the center, laying out the plan. The plan is simple. When Vandal lures out the Red Lightning Tribe's main force, we will ambush their camp from behind. Chris illustrated on the map to make it easier for everyone to visualize. After that, we will charge straight into their base to cause chaos. Kellen and Sucha, you two will command separate squads and carry out the mission. Sucha, Kellen, and Karak listened seriously. Hearing his name, Sucha asked, The mission? You mean rescuing our imperial sister, right? That's right, Chris confirmed. But we will burn their food and weapon supplies first, and only then rescue Felicia. If the situation becomes too dangerous, retreat immediately. We can't afford to take more losses just for Felicia. Chris's gaze was cold. Every intention in his words put the common good first. But Kelly fiercely opposed this. Brother, Chris's voice turned stern. Quiet! I am the commander here. Kelly didn't back down an inch. We're family. How can you say that? But the two continued to bicker. We can't let Felicia's reckless actions ruin the entire plan. Watching the scene before him, Sucha was confused. What is this? He could sense that Chris seemed to have no interest in saving Felicia. Did something happen between them in the past? On the other side of the forest and mountains, the sky was a blazing red over the dark peaks. The sound of footsteps approached one by one. The soldiers charged forward aggressively. A soldier shouted, "Charge! Wipe out those red lightning bastards!" Chris and his remaining soldiers were observing from a cliff, looking down at the base below, which was filled with tents guarded by the red lightning soldiers. Chris watched them with a sharp gaze. A loud explosion ripped through a section of their base, and the surprised soldiers were sent flying into the air. Their leader, with blood-red eyes and vicious fangs, charged forward with his subordinates. "Wipe them all out!" On the map, a major road separated Sucha's unit from the assault. Looking at the situation before them, Karak spoke up. "The attack has begun. Aren't we moving out yet?" Sucha saw the bursts of fire below, but remained calm. "Wait. There will be a signal." Down below, it was chaos. Blue soldiers were pummeling their enemies, and one viciously swung an axe, knocking a red soldier to the ground. The leader stood silently below, watching his underlings attack. His gaze was fixed, unmoving amidst the raging fires. A shout rang out, "All troops, retreat!" Chris watched the chaotic, smoke-filled scene below. He turned his head and shouted, "Everyone on my command, prepare to move out. Proceed with the mission as planned." Sucha, Kellen, and everyone else had eyes filled with the determination to win. "Charge!" Chris roared. The whole group surged forward, aggressive and powerful. The red lightning soldiers' eyes widened in shock before another great battle erupted. Kelly ran beside Sucha, reminding him, "Be careful." He smiled. "You too." Sucha raised his hand to open the map and shouted, "Left flank, Commander! Advance directly to the supply depot!" He dashed straight for it. "Kill them all!" he roared. Karak struck down enemies with a single hand, but they only grew more ferocious, charging at him with violent fists. Karak's eyes widened in surprise, but Sucha landed a timely punch to the enemy's face. He'd rescued Karak with a single spectacular blow. It was a level 1 dagger throw, launching a dagger at a designated target. Seeing the perfect hit, Sucha smiled with satisfaction. Karak's eyes were wide with amazement. "Prince, when did you learn to throw daggers?" He continued running. "It doesn't matter, let's go, hurry!" But inside, he thought, "I just got lucky trying to throw knives last night. I have no idea how I learned this skill either." Karak looked ahead. "That looks like the supply depot. Do we just burn it?" Sucha agreed. "That's right, proceed according to the plan." Suddenly, Sucha remembered something. "Wait, what about Felicia? What if she's imprisoned in there? She could be trapped, or even die." Sucha changed the plan. "We have to find Felicia first." Karak saw the difficulty in that. "But how do you plan to find her, my lord?" He was perfectly calm. "Follow me." Sucha ran while looking at his map. He thought to himself, Felicia would be considered a neutral NPC, so she should be a green or purple dot. Suddenly, Sucha spotted something. He quickly shouted, "This way, Karak!" Karak heard the order. "Understood." Sucha threw open a door with his hand. He went inside and looked all around. "This must be it. But where's Felicia?" A voice called his name. "Sucha!" Sucha was startled and looked toward the voice. Before him stood a girl with platinum blonde hair. The girl was stunned and surprised. "Sucha, what are you doing here?" It was her, Felicia. She exclaimed in shock, "Sucha, why are you here?" Sucha seriously began to undo her chains while replying, "Now is not the time for talk. Be quiet. This place is dangerous. I need to untie you so we can get out of here quickly." As he worked, he calculated in his head, "If I make Felicia indebted to me now, it'll be very useful later." Felicia found his attitude strange. She stared at him intently. This has gotten way out of hand. Once the chains were off, Felicia urged him on. "Let's go, let's regroup with Chris and Kellen." Felicia stopped, stunned. "Wait a minute. Chris and Kellen are here too? To save me?" Sucha confirmed it. "Of course. Did you even have to ask?" "You don't think they should have come to save you?" Felicia was bewildered. No. What I mean is, Sucha, you were kept out of the power struggle, so you wouldn't know." Karak returned, shouting a warning. "Your Highness, there are too many of them!" Startled, Sucha turned. "Felicia, this way, hurry!" Felicia was still confused. "Oh, okay. Then she realized something and asked seriously, "Wait, why are you calling me by my name?" Sucha was already running full tilt in one direction. She panicked and ran after him. "Sucha, behind you!" Sucha started to turn, but he was struck square in the chest by a wave of power. The impact sent him flying, and he coughed up a mouthful of blood in agony. Then, an explosion erupted right where he stood. Felicia screamed in terror, "Sucha!" The flames burned on with no sign of stopping. Felicia stared anxiously toward the blaze. Sucha! Suddenly, a monster roared, and a shockwave blasted out around her. She struggled to stand her ground. "Damn it!" Felicia's gaze darted to another direction. That red goblin's head instantly exploded. Felicia stared in confusion at the fading smoke from where Sucha had been. What in the world? A moment later, the smoke cleared, revealing a foot. Sucha stood there, completely unharmed without a single scratch, cheerfully holding a bow. Acquired Mana Control Level 1. Acquired Fire Arrow Level 1. He smiled with satisfaction, then continued to launch fire arrows toward the giants. Sucha's grin widened with delight as he repeatedly drew his bow and let the fire arrows fly. Explosions erupted. The red goblins were blown up, screaming in pain as the blasts hit them. Sucha cheered excitedly. "Ha ha, it's real! This is real magic. Even at just level 1, it's incredible. Ah ha ha ha!" Suddenly, a wave of power struck from behind, startling him. He spun around. A pile of ice had appeared on the ground. "Ice! Above us! Run! Above us!" It was the high-level red goblins, shooting arrows down. Sucha watched anxiously in the direction of the arrow. "He's aiming for Felicia." Felicia, however, was focused on asking Sucha, "Hey, are you okay?" Sucha decisively pushed her back, shouting a warning, "Wait, don't come any closer." Felicia looked at him in confusion. Countless ice arrows shot towards where Sucha was standing. He seemed calm for a moment, his expression unreadable, but a second later, his eyes widened, sparkling with fascination. He had his eyes on this giant's treasure. "Because this baby is mine now!" Once again, a surge of power slammed into the ground where Sucha stood, creating a thick cloud of dust. The smoke gradually faded, Sucha's figure still shrouded within. A notification quickly appeared. Acquired Ice Arrow Level 1. He couldn't help but let out a satisfied smile. "Ha ha! Just as I thought!" Suddenly, a sharp ice pillar pierced through his back. The pressure bore down on him, and his expression turned serious. "Ah!" Sucha's body collapsed onto the ground. A red alert appeared. HP 13 out of 95. Vitality has decreased. You are in critical condition. He panicked, crying out, "I'm dead! I'm dead! My health! If I take another hit like that—" Sucha gritted his teeth against the pain. Suddenly, a voice rang out, "You idiot!" Sucha looked towards it. He saw Felicia, her arms crossed, looking down at him in silence. Unexpectedly, she spoke up, questioning him, "Did I ask you to save me?" Sucha's face was full of confusion. "What?" Felicia frowned and challenged him again. "Between the two of us, you're the weakest. So who do you think is the one that needs saving?" Sucha screamed internally, "Wait! I think Felicia is misunderstanding something." "What the hell?" He looked bewildered. Felicia asked again, "Since when did you learn magic?" Sucha looked at the unblinking corpse of the goblin archer and was stunned. "She already took down the mage? I see now. She misunderstood, thinking I was trying to save her." As he was lost in thought, Felicia came closer and decisively pulled the ice shard out of Sucha's body. A healing light enveloped his wound. "Ugh." Felicia was casting a healing spell on him. Sucha's eyes widened as he stared at the miraculous power. The large wound on his chest healed with incredible speed. Acquired Healing Level 1. Sucha watched the wound close up completely, exclaiming in shock, "Instant healing! She really is a magical genius, Felicia Dumbest." Felicia checked on his condition. "So are you feeling better now? Can you stand up?" Sucha replied, Yes, I'm fine now. Thanks to you, my health is full again." She looked a little confused. "What? Health?" Sucha was startled and tried to explain. No, I mean... Huh? Suddenly, something made both of them look in the same direction. A red ogre. Its two eyes were bloodshot and crazed as it charged towards them. "What the hell is that thing?" Sucha answered, "That's a blood ogre, a mutated version of an ogre." Felicia turned back in shock. "What? You mean we have to beat that thing to get out of here?" Yeah, pretty much." Just then, the red goblin's shadow fell over them. Both of them quickly turned and ran. The red goblin roared as it gave chase. Sucha's face was pale. How the hell are we supposed to fight that thing? Sucha and Felicia quickly turned and ran. The red goblin chased after them, swinging its weapon down. He glanced back in panic. What the hell? How is it so fast? Felicia prompted Sucha. Buy some time. I'll gather my magic to finish him. This made him jump in alarm. How am I supposed to buy time? At that moment, another attack from the enemy slammed down right behind them. As he ran, Sucha continued, Okay, I get it. I'll find a way to draw its aggro. You get the spell ready, Felicia asked, puzzled. Aggro? What's that? Sucha just said, Just get ready. Then he yelled out, Carrick, where are you? Karak, who was up ahead, turned around and replied, Right here, Sucha signaled. Like last time. Get ready. Yes, sir. Then Sucha turned back and quickly brought up the system screen. I should be able to use the dwarf's dagger now, right? A dagger appeared on the screen. He held the dagger, his expression serious as he looked towards the enemy. The sharp blade emitted a powerful aura. Sucha forcefully stabbed it into the ground. Under the king's banner! A stream of power shot out from it, heading straight towards Karak up ahead. Karak, now powered up, gripped his cleaver and gritted his teeth. When the power reached its peak, he let out a roar. The red goblin looked up into the air, confused, to see the enormous Karak swinging his sharp blade down at it. The red goblin quickly raised its weapon to block Karak's attack, but then it was immediately harassed by other attacks. Karak swung his blade with all his might. The slash cut straight into the giant's stomach. It gritted its teeth and shrieked in pain, seizing the opportunity. Felicia, in her transparent form, flew close to it. A second later, she materialized with a surge of power. She unleashed her magic, surrounding the red goblin's body as she shouted, Begone! Its feet were burned by the magic, forcing it to hop around. Then it was hit again, knocking it flat on its back. The red goblin couldn't react in time. It lay paralyzed on the ground. Karak seized the moment, leaping forward with his dagger. His eyes glowed red as he roared, It's over! Then came a slash down on the giant's stomach so powerful that it cracked the ground all around them. The red goblin coughed up a mouthful of blood in agony. Karak then proceeded to stomp on its stomach, making blood gush out endlessly. Sucha stood to the side, observing the situation. He broke into an excited smile. Ha ha! I won! I won! There are still plenty of others, but the most annoying one is taken care of. Suddenly, a surge of power surrounded his body, making him look down in confusion. Huh? With that, a system window appeared right before his eyes with the message, Level up, level 10. Sucha cheered internally. Finally, level 10! Bap, your main character, has leveled up. He couldn't help but let out a smug smile. Nice. Bap, main character, level 2. A new passive skill has been added. He quickly tapped on the screen. Should I open the gift box right now? Blessing of the Battlefield, level 1. The accuracy of ranged attacks targeting the main character is slightly reduced. Sucha, once again astonished, exclaimed, This is the Stormtrooper effect. Everyone's seen it at least once. That scene where dozens of bullets are fired, but they all just miss the main character. Sucha laughed excitedly at this new skill. I can perfectly recreate that main character aura effect. Just then, a horde of red goblins came charging with a roar. Felicia, running for her life, yelled, Sucha, what are you doing? The enemy is coming! He snapped back to reality. Felicia was drained of energy, her face etched with exhaustion. Still, she managed to create another shockwave. Oh, winds, roar! A powerful gust of wind erupted. It sent the horde of red goblins flying backward. Sucha's eyes widened as he watched. It looks like magic, but it's not. He quickly realized it was a spirit. That's exactly what it is, a spirit. Even if it's a fallen one, a dark spirit is still a spirit. Felicia isn't just an excellent mage, she's also a natural-born spirit user. Felicia was still struggling with the enemy, but Sucha's eyes lit up and he broke into a greedy smile. I wonder if that magic can even hit me, though. Just then, a golden light appeared in the sky. Sucha's soldiers looked up in confusion. One asked Karak, Prince, what's that flare signal for? He immediately replied, Yellow is the signal to retreat. Karak thought, Retreat? He was confused too, wondering, what's happening with the situation? Don't tell me. Is someone in danger? Karak asked worriedly. Prince, what should we do? Please, give your orders. Sucha immediately commanded, Karak, you lead the troops and retreat first. I have to get to my sister, Kylie. Carrick stared at him blankly. Huh? What do you mean by that? Then let me go with you. He was obviously very worried. Sucha explained, there must be a reason for the retreat order. For now, just follow my commands. But Carrack was still bewildered. But Felicia stepped forward and said, I'll go with Sucha. Carrack stammered. Princess? She continued, I don't like being indebted to anyone, so I want a chance to repay him, and besides, I still have some business to settle with those pigs. At this, Carrack had no choice but to accept. He reminded them, in that case, please be careful, Prince, I will wait for you up ahead. Sucha started walking briskly. I know, see you later. Felicia, following behind him, asked, but do you really need to go to Kylie? He voiced his suspicion. You never know. This sudden retreat order is very suspicious. She continued, you don't actually think she'd lose to those things, do you? Sucha replied, I hope she hasn't lost. If she has, no big deal. We'll just return together. Seeing how anxious he was, Felicia's expression turned sad. You're that worried about Kylie? Sucha replied, well, of course. We're brother and sister, after all. Though he added in his head, but it's also because we're allies. Felicia crossed her arms, staring intently at him. Of course, huh? Scene changed to Kylie's camp. A horde of red goblins was rushing in to attack. Kylie, with a calm expression, threw out her fists, counterattacking them. Her gaze was sharp. As Kylie stretched out her hand and unleashed her power, the red goblins' abdomens exploded, sending them into a panic. But then they went berserk, gnashing their teeth and charging forward. The remaining two lunged toward Kylie. She leaped backward to dodge and quickly summoned her weapon. She immediately unleashed a sharp slash towards the two red goblins. They were quickly overcome with pain. Just then, Sucha and Felicia arrived. Felicia smirked. Just as I thought. The look on Sucha's face was priceless, too. Because Kylie had dealt with the danger all by herself, there was nothing to worry about. Kylie quickly noticed Sucha and turned to ask, Sucha, why are you still here? Why didn't you retreat? He answered reluctantly. Well, I came to save you. No, I came to help, but it looks like you didn't need it. She turned back confused. Huh? What do you mean by that? Then her eyes widened in astonishment as she spotted Felicia. She suddenly rushed forward and joyfully threw her arms around her. Felicia, thank goodness you're safe. Felicia blushed, embarrassed by the hug. Oh, of course I am. You're always worrying over nothing. Sucha watched them and chuckled to himself. Looks like those two are pretty close, huh? Suddenly, a system window popped up, showing a map of the area. He flinched and looked over. Looks like the enemy is returning. We need to retreat now, Kylie told Sucha. You go on ahead and lead the way. We'll defend the rear. He replied, Right. Scene changed to another location, where blue soldiers were working diligently inside a barrier. The ground was covered in symbols. The three of them stepped inside the barrier. Felicia looked around and wondered, Sucha discovered this gate? Kylie replied cheerfully, That's right. He made a huge contribution in this battle. Felicia muttered, How strange. Since when did he change this much? Just then, someone appeared and called out, Everyone's back safe and sound. It was Chris Kellen who cheered, My men have brought Felicia back safely. In contrast to his joy, Felicia just furrowed her brow in silence, then greeted Chris somewhat coldly. It's been a while, Chris. He fell silent for a moment, staring at her, before replying, Yes, it has been a while. Lady Felicia. Later, the four of them gathered in a cave to talk. Chris spoke up, announcing, I heard that General Bandle's side was also victorious. It seems that Yakujan fellow gave up after seeing his camp burn to the ground. Hearing this, Sucha looked curious. Yakujan? Kellen, standing beside him, explained, Yakujan is the name of the supreme leader of the Red-Gray tribe. Have you forgotten? Felicia asked, So does that mean Yakujan has surrendered? Chris denied it. Not exactly, he just fled somewhere else. If he gathers his remaining forces, he can still continue to fight. That's why tomorrow we'll attack the army of Kairam, Kaichan's older brother. It'll be a huge pain if he joins forces with Yakujan. Anyway, that's all for my report. What about you? Why are you here? Hearing the question, Felicia fell silent again. After a moment, she answered, I was researching the nearby ruins. Then I heard about the battle, and I was captured on my way to provide support. Chris exclaimed in surprise, Is that true? Seeing his suspicious expression, she asked directly, What? Does it sound like a lie? Chris didn't deny it. his sharp gaze studying her expression, looking for any cracks. Felicia didn't back down, meeting his stare head-on. Only then did Chris look away. "You must be tired. Let's stop here for now. Everyone get some rest." "Yes, sir. Thank you for your hard work." Felicia, with a thoughtful expression, said nothing more. The soldiers sat resting and bandaging each other's wounds, while Sucha sat alone checking his screen. System, owned skills. Mana control level 1, fire arrow level 1, ice arrow level 1, heal level 1. After looking over his newly acquired skills, he couldn't help but feel delighted. Just looking at this makes me happy. But I guess the only thing I can really use in a fight right now is aura. As he was engrossed in his review, a voice suddenly called out, "Sucha, may I come in for a moment?" Felicia then walked in. Sucha was surprised. "Lady Felicia, you've changed your clothes?" "Yes." He wondered why she was here at this hour. When asked, Felicia pressed her lips together in silence for a long moment, then continued to walk forward, calling his name again. "Sucha!" Sucha had a bewildered look on his face. As he stared at her, confused, he was pulled forward by a strong force. "Huh? Huh?" Felicia pulled him close to her and said bluntly, "Can you take off your shirt?" Sucha panicked, his face flushing red at her bold action.